Hey everyone, thank you. Thank you for joining. Hey, we have a couple minutes still here. This is the session on Agent Assist. The session for AI Agent is next door if you were looking for that. I personally think you made it to the best session, the right session. And I'm not just saying that because I'm passionate about Agent Assist. I think we've got some great guest members that are going to be joining me on the stage in a few minutes here. So I also really appreciate you guys getting back here after lunch and shrimp scampi. So if you had a shrimp scampi, there's a mandatory coffee out front waiting for you. So yeah, before we jump in, my name is Reese. I am the VP of Customer Success at Cresta. So my team is the CSM team, who I think a lot of you have probably worked with. And the session today is all about unlocking the power of Agent Assist. Now my job is a little bit tricky today because you all heard the keynote this morning and likely are kind of seeing the future potential, everything that's possible with Agent Assist. My job here is to land the plane a little bit and talk about what is actually doable today, right? But still functionality that maybe goes beyond what folks are typically doing with Agent Assist. And the other thing I'll add here is the framework for this session is going to be, I'm going to introduce a couple of Agent Assist functionality features that folks are maybe not thinking about yet. I'll then be joined on stage by two customers, Frontdoor and Scan Health, and we're going to have a discussion about how they are leveraging Agent Assist and some of the outcomes that they've seen from their usage. So we'll jump in. When we think about Agent Assist, I think it's undeniable the value of Agent Assist when we're thinking about productivity and efficiency. And for those reasons, I think we typically anchor on average handle time or after call work as our success metrics when we're thinking about an Agent Assist deployment. And what I'd pose is actually that there are many more success metrics that we can be thinking about. There's many additional value props. And why do we think about AHT and ACW in the first place, right? If anyone has brought in Agent Assist into your business, you probably have anchored on these two metrics in your business case. And the reason is that it's a 10 out of 10 thing, right? It's a utility play. We are bringing in Agent Assist. We are going to cut down after call work, and used appropriately in a care situation, we're going to drive down handle time as well. But the three other value props that I think are maybe underserved on Agent Assist are increasing revenue, reducing risk, and improving the customer experience. And so what I'd like to do is go through each one of these KPIs and talk about how we can use Agent Assist to better it, to improve it. And we will start with increasing revenue through sales optimization, right? So your Agent Assist, what it's going to do while supporting the agent on screen is going to be looking for those key moments to do discovery, identify upsells, assume the sale, and overcome objections. All very key parts of any kind of a sales play. But not only identifying those moments, it's actually critical that we prompt agents with information that's going to help them drive conversion and going to help them increase the order value as well. And the third piece of this that you're seeing on the top right here is how do we have agents focus on building a connection in that conversation? And another way that we can do that is through live AI notes. A lot of folks are maybe doing call summarization at the end of the call, but we can even take notes live right in the middle of the call. And so rather than scratching, if you walk into a contact center, you probably see agents with a pad of paper next to them, scratching down notes, names, numbers, what have you. If they can feel confident that the system is actually capturing that information for them, and maybe information that goes beyond just the customer name, right? But information about why they are purchasing in the first place. I like to think about this as ammunition, right? If we can extract information early on in discovery, we can make it easier for an agent to use that information when assuming the sale or overcoming the objection later. The next piece of functionality I want to talk about is dynamic compliance. And so this is reducing risk to the business overall. There are obviously a lot of different compliance statements or compliance policies that you have in place. The most common one, of course, as everybody knows, is you're on a recorded line. Of course, we have to say that. But there's a lot of other compliance statements that have to be read based on maybe where the customer is located, and even the customer situation if we think about in the world of collections, perhaps. And so we need to make it easy on our agents to actually be compliant in all of their conversations. The way Cresta tries to tackle this problem is that we can take any kind of conversation context, bring that together with any integrated metadata that we have access to provide a very targeted compliance statement that the agent can read or say to the customer in order to be compliant. Now, here's where I think we go a step further than a lot of people are maybe thinking about. Compliance has typically been rolled into QA, right? We do compliance on maybe 2 to 3% of conversations, the same way we do QA across other conversations. But with Cresta now, we can measure it on 100%. And I'd argue that every compliance infraction is not a directional signal of whether the agent is compliant or not, and maybe we fix this down the road. I actually think it's every compliance infraction is a loose thread that needs to be tied off. And so using Cresta, we can alert a supervisor in real time the moment a compliance infraction occurs. And that supervisor can go to the agent, correct the action in real time, or maybe even speak to the customer, right? Perhaps at times a customer follow-up is necessary. So the key here is telling the agent what to do in context, and then also alerting the manager when those few compliance infractions still do sneak through. The last piece here that I'm going to cover is personalization. We heard a lot about personalization this morning in the keynote, but we can do quite a bit of personalization today. I think one thing you've probably heard through Wave so far is how automation is going to play a pretty critical role in customer conversations, both today and in the future. And so any conversation that we are having human to human needs to be an opportunity to wow, right? I'll tell you, I lead the customer success team for Cresta, and our mentality is that we are not here to keep the lights on, right? We are not here to be an escalation point. We're here to wow you, right? That is our job, that's my team's job, is to create moments where you say, Cresta is a differentiated vendor for us, a partner, and I'm gonna work with them forever, right? And I hope you all have that experience with some of your CSMs. And so how do we apply that to the contact center the same way? From the moment that the customer calls in, we need to be addressing them by name, addressing their loyalty tier, right? Maybe speaking to their tenure or the last time that they called in a situation where we are, where maybe we didn't reach a first call resolution and they called in recently. All of that information can actually be served up to the agent today, just by plugging into some of your systems of record. And that, I think, goes a long way in creating that feeling of bonding between the customer and the company that's calling in. So that's enough from me, right? We went through 3 examples of how Agent Assist can really take things up a step from just improving AHT or after call work. What I'd love to do now is welcome to the stage Mark Fleming from Scan Health and Fred Spano from Frontdoor. Welcome, guys. Welcome. Hey, Fred. And so we don't have pictures. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. Welcome to the stage, guys. Appreciate it.
The right people up.
And so the goal here, we talked about how we can expand the human potential with Agent Assist, and I think you guys are 2 fantastic customers to talk about your experience with Agent Assist so far, some of the outcomes that you've seen. So thank you for coming. I'd like to start off with maybe some introductions. Maybe we'll start with you, Mark.
Sure thing. Thanks for having me, and good afternoon. You guys picked the right session to go to. I just want to call that out. So Mark Fleming, I'm the head of our service experience and delivery team at Scan. So SCAN is a Medicare Advantage company. We're a nonprofit organization. So all of my customers are 65 and above. We're helping them do things like get doctor's appointments, especially when they're struggling to get a doctor's appointment. Make sure they have authorizations if they want to go see specialists. We have members that are calling us after they've gotten diagnosed with cancer. We have members that have called us after they've gotten out of the hospital. They're really dealing with very, very thick life events, and my team is there to help support them and keep them healthy and independent.
Okay. All right. Thank you for having me as well. So my name is Fred Spano. I'm head of integrated sales for a company called Frontdoor. We're the parent company of multiple home warranty brands, American Home Shield being the largest. I run all of our sales that are not field related. So we have two main products. We have a direct-to-consumer product and a real estate product, and I run all the sales and sales support.
I'm a customer of
Yes.
Fred. That's not intentional though.
That's amazing.
Yes.
I love that. That's great. Did you guys just figure that out, actually?
Yeah, we just figured it out. Yeah. I'm taking care of an issue for him already.
Perfect. Love it. Love it. With Agent Assist.
Absolutely.
actually.
No, because we just have it with sales.
Okay.
We're working on getting on the service side.
Okay. Well, actually, that brings me to my first question, which is, what got you thinking about Agent Assist in the first place? Mark, maybe we'll start with you.
Sure thing. So you guys heard the story of the types of calls that we get, and for me, reflect on like the keynote and what Ping said around superhuman, right? I want to superpower my team so that way hints are popping up to them. They don't have to know everything. My business is very dynamic. We have changes all the time. Just think about doctors coming in network, doctors coming out of network, specific things that are happening that it might take time for my agents to find that information in their knowledge base, right? Having that at their fingertips. But then something that you also alluded to that I want to call it is I'm a big believer of hospitality and embedding hospitality into healthcare. So like you mentioned tenure, right? So we greet and thank our members for how long they've been with us. Like that's something that pops up to help remind them to be able to push those types of things. So for me, it's all about, yes, handle time is important. Yes, after call work is important. But how can I make their lives easier so that they can in turn make my customers' lives better?
Yeah, great. Fred, anything additional to that?
Yeah, so I used to run our service org, and I've been in sales for 2 years. And one thing about sales that's a lot easier than the service is service. Is it quality? Is it efficiency? CPH, after call survey. Whereas sales, there's only one thing that matters. It's conversion. And so we obsess over how to improve conversion, how to shorten the tenure curve, and that's why we decided to test into Agent Assist, because it has helped us improve conversion. And
Yeah.
it has justified everything we've done with the pilot. I'll talk about that later. But that is why we get involved. Because we have BPOs all over the world, and so we're 100% remote as a company. And so this has also been a connector for us, and that's something we were attracted to as well.
So let's double click on that, actually. You are an outbound sales team. You're leveraging a
yes.
distributed BPO
Yes.
team, right? So can you talk a little bit about maybe the challenges that presents and how the day-to-day of those agents and supervisors has changed since kind of like the pre-Cresta versus post?
Yeah, so a lot of the reporting was manual before, right? And so we're on Amazon Connect, that's our telephony system. We have contact lens that we kind of use, but all of our BPOs have their own reporting, and so it's all very good, and it gives us a very good idea, but it's disconnected and there's not one voice. And so that's the first thing that it helped is that Cresta has been able to do is that. And the other one is just like we obsess about why people say no. And so we're always like, hey, what's the Pareto of like, okay, we obsess over a contact conversion, right? So we're an outbound team, you have yield, but we try to focus on what we can control, which is when I talk to somebody for greater than 75 seconds, what is my conversion rate? Because that is a good opportunity. And so we're always like, hey, what's the Pareto for the no's? Why are they saying no? We always have spousal objections and all these objections. And Cresta has given us real data on like why people are saying no. And to help us get over those objections and give good rebuttals. We're working on the hints. The hints aren't perfect, but it's a work in progress. But it's given us a really good starting point to understand why people say no.
Have there been any reasons why people have said no that you've learned about that you said, I didn't know about that?
We did a pilot for two call types. One is our first year direct-to-consumer product. But the one that I can answer this question is our real estate product. So if a lot of you bought a house, probably, and you can get a warranty as part of the house transaction, right? Most people have no idea that they have the product. They have no idea. They don't pay for it. And then all of a sudden a renewal comes along. Like, well, wait, what? How much is this? I got to pay this? I don't even know what it is. So we do a lot of work. We have a welcome call to teach you how to use it. But one of the reasons I was able to sell Cresta to my leadership is like, if we can unlock, because that's our lowest renewal call. If we can unlock that and just improve by like X%, this is well worth it. And so what we have found is we saw a huge improvement in those when we talked to them. And it's really just understanding, hey, we know we haven't used it, but is something broke in your house? Mm-hmm. And then talk about if you would have used this product, it would have saved you this versus probably what you paid. Because the other thing that Cresta has helped us discover, this is all because personal experience as well, how much like sticker shock you get if you hire just a retail contractor to come fix something in your house. You think it's only going to cost a couple $100. They show up and it's like $800 or probably more in some areas. And by that point, you're like, I'm going to pay it because I don't want to deal with it anymore. But like that, we've also discovered a little bit of that with Cresta as well.
Great. Mark, over to you. I want to something you said about the superpower, right? Super agents. I think I've heard you call it in the past. So can you talk about where that is coming to fruition for your teams?
Yeah. I'll talk about it in a couple different lenses. So our inbound team uses it, but we also have an outbound team, not for sales. They do things like welcome calls. They do things like following up on a member after a PCP visit. And my outbound team is comprised of members, right? So these are folks that are over 65. I like to say they love scans so much that they want to come work for us, right? I got over 100 of them. And so they are also using these hints. And what's been awesome with that team in particular is before Cresta, to train them, because they're not call center reps, these are like professionals. So imagine you're retired and it's almost like a volunteer job, right? They come back and they work for us, and it's like they're giving back to the community. But they can't really do transactional work because they weren't trained on doing it. And to get them through all the rigorous training that our inbound team does, it's a lot of work. So what Agent Assist has done for them is it helps make their job easier. So think about proficiency, right? Speed to be able to get them to do things. And now they're transferring, like our transfer rates from my outbound team to my inbound team has fallen off a cliff, right? Because of some of this work, right? You think about our post-call survey results just on the inbound side. I have a 93.5% very satisfied customer score, right? With like over 100,000 survey results, right? That has gone up. It was, before we implemented Cresta, it was like in the high 80s, right? And so those are some pretty tangible results. Going back to your comment, Fred, it's not sales. So, but customer service scores matter, right?
They do matter.
Anybody who is in customer service, you want to get as high as a CSAT score as possible, right? Because that shows you're doing a great
100%.
job.
And you know what I love about that is it's yes, you're talking about how you're taking agents and creating super agents, but you're also talking about how you're taking non-agents and creating agents in the first place. And you're not the first customer that I've heard that from that's been able to go into different communities or even different countries and be able to take populations that maybe weren't planning on being agents, and now they're capable of doing that. That's great. Cool. Well, one of the key ingredients for Agent Assist, for anyone that is leveraging Agent Assist, is adoption. We cannot force people to adopt. This is not the AI agent session next door. This is Agent Assist. And for this to work, we need people to adopt. And so, Mark, I'll come back to you on this. Has there been any secrets that you have learned along the way? Anything that has worked for you?
So no secrets other than we struggled for sure to start. And it's different than sales, right? Sales is incentivized. Like they want to use it to help drive and close, get more revenue, right?
Not everybody.
Well, theoretically.
Yeah.
On the service side, there's a lot of apprehension, right? Even this is like, even when we said the messaging, I don't know how many times I told them I want to, give you superpowers. There was still that concern around, you're doing this to take my job, you're doing this to take my job. And so I think for us, one of the big lessons learned for anybody that hasn't rolled this out yet is make sure you have a bunch of your users included in that first group to go live. And even though we did do that, we didn't do enough like advertising of that, right? And so that slowed our adoption to start. But once it got picked up, it started to rock and roll. The other thing too is just making sure you're getting that feedback, right? Like, is this hint actually helpful, right? Is this solving your issue? Or is it just another thing to throw at you?
Yeah, yeah. Fred, same question?
Yeah, so along the same lines, like don't be maniacal about adherence at first, right? You have to prove it. And so, like, for example, we have a President's Club in sales. I didn't even put them on this at first. Like, you don't need it. You don't need it. I'm not going to sit here and tell you what to do. You're good. And so the first thing is like, hey, we're going to do a test. Let's get some data to say, does it work or not? So we did a very small test. And we're like, hey, the more people use it, the higher they work. And so the higher they convert, And so you show that to all the other agents. And then now we're going to give it to you guys as well. And so you don't really force them, or there's no consequence for them not using it. It's more of like, this is helping you. And what we found is like, not everybody loves everything. Everyone loves the checklist though. The checklist has been a game changer. Even our best people, because now we have President's Club people on that, they love just the call transcripts because sometimes they forget and they're able to go back. So they can use every piece of it. And yet we're still tweaking the hints, but the hints work. The hints remind people what to bring up. And so I think the biggest piece of advice is, because exactly, they're like, well, this is going to replace my job. Like I have internal teams that they didn't want any part of it because they were like, well, you already replaced a bunch of us with BPO. Now you're just going to, no, that's not what we're going to do at all. Like, not only do we have legal requirements, we have to have internal people, but you guys are also our best converters. But no, this is here to help, and here's how. And it's stuff like the checklist, and it's stuff like the call transcripts, and just those things that aren't even the hints. You don't even measure those. And so we also have really robust like scorecard, and we have a Cresta scorecard. We give every group that has the best scorecard performance every week, they get a pizza party. Like, pizza parties work. I don't know why, but they work. It's crazy. But just give them like some sort of carrot. And so what we found is the people that use Cresta the most, they have a higher conversion other than the President's Club. I could care less about what the President's Club adherence. So just, I guess, as I rant, don't be maniacal about adherence. Let them figure it out as they go, and it will prove itself out, as long as you're using it the right way.
It's funny you mentioned the transcription, Fred, because we did an exercise where we asked agents more recently, like, hey, if like we got rid of Cresta, like what would you say, right? And they're like, please don't, please don't, please don't. But one of the things that they love the most is the transcription.
They love it.
And it's just amazing. You don't think about that, but it allows them, especially, in my case, you have a member that might not, be able to enunciate very well, right? You might not be a stroke victim, right? You guys say you have a 93%, conversion rate, whatever. It's much better than that, and it picks up so much. It's really amazing.
I also will say that because I hear that all the time. Anytime I go into a contact center, I hear about the transcription, right? And I think there is a part of being able to understand, words that maybe you couldn't make out in the call. I think there's also a part about diffusing a very emotional situation. Yeah. Something about seeing it in black and white on the screen just grounds the agent, prevents them from buying into maybe the emotional state that the customer has come in it, right? Fred, one thing that you mentioned there that I think is really important, when I heard you say it to me the first time, my ears perked up, because it makes so much sense, which is that adherence to Cresta leads to better results, with the exception of the President's Club.
Yep.
Right? Can you talk a little bit more about that? Like, yeah.
So we have a President's Club, and they have they don't follow our call flows. They have figured it out on their own. They're just really good salespeople, right? And so they were very like, no, you're not telling me how to sell. Like it'll make my sales worse. And so we put them in Cresta not only for the transcripts, but also because I would like to. How do we learn from what they do to apply to other people? Like we can't do it. Like, there's this one agent in particular. Her name's Michaela. Like, even my board knows about Michaela. Michaela would sell ice to an Eskimo. She is just amazing. She has her own way. Cresta's not going to mimic everything she does. But can we pick up by having all of her calls and looking at it and diving deep into her calls?
Right.
And hey, what are the 2 or 3 things that can apply to everybody? And maybe some of them apply to the newer agents. Some of them apply to the people that are in Care Bay that are struggling. Like, what are the things that we can learn from our best folks, right? So we measure everything's conversion, right? So my goal is the tier A, which is the highest adherence Cresta agents. They actually outperform the President's Club, because then I can tell the President's Club, hey, you might want to use Cresta more, but I'm not forcing them because they are our best of the best. And so if I'm not going to, don't mess up something that's working,
Right.
but you can still learn from them.
Right. And so when we look and when we're looking across and we say, hey, my top 3 agents are not adhering, it's easy to get discouraged and
Correct.
say like, hey, Agent Assist isn't working. So that's why I wanted to.
Well, and it's not like what the real unlock for me, we are obsessed with how do we shorten the tenure curve? Call center tenure, I have to teach people all the time that aren't familiar with the call center space, tenure matters so much, right? In service, it's 90 days, and for sales, it's 60 days, for me at least. There's such a drastic difference in the performance of somebody who's been on the job for 2 weeks versus 6 months. And we've obsessed with how do we shorten that tenure curve. We dove into like AI simulated calls because I don't want to burn I don't want to burn good leads on new agents, right? Mm-hmm. So how do we get these agents reps? And so the best thing we found is Cresta. It has shortened the tenure curve and it's raised the floor, right? It doesn't help the top, but it's raised my floor. And like we're making a bunch of big bets next year because of that. And so that's the biggest one.
We onboarded a new BPO in the Philippines, and their speed to get to full quality scores is faster than we've ever seen.
Yeah, because Cresta, right? Because it's just here's the baseline.
Yeah. Can you guys give some specific numbers? What was the ramp time like before? What is it like now?
Well, so mine are not. I don't have ramp time. Mine are like so. When we did the pilot, we saw a 5% improvement in conversion. Mm-hmm. And so that's from like for the pilot group, they went from like low 20s, so not 5 basis points, like 5% from 21 to 26.
We got our Manila site up to full like on par quality scores within 4 months.
Wow.
So it was pretty impressive.
That's amazing. And it was an entirely new team in Manila.
Entirely new team.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's huge.
Yeah.
Okay. And one other thing I'll just say on adoption, something that I see from a couple other customers, I don't know if you guys have thought about this yet, to combat that big brother or AI is taking my job, it's almost like we are teaching a very valuable skill to agents, which is how to use AI in your contact center world. Because the reality is, in this job and any other contact center job they have from now on, they're probably going to have some kind of technology like this, right? And then I've even seen other customers put that the agent will have access to AI tools in their job description, right, to help attract talent as well.
Well, I think it goes back to what was earlier said, right? Like most of our agents are using AI in their personal life.
Yeah.
Right? And so now they're using AI at work. And so now it's just how do you translate that? Like it's not, I don't know about that. Well, you have some, the age of some of your agents is not what I'm saying here, but most of my agents are young, right? And so they're youngish, and so they're using ChatGPT, they're using all this stuff, so they're familiar with it. Whereas like I think you have a different challenge with.
Well, that's part of my team. My inbound team they're all over the place in terms of ages, but no, but you'd be surprised with my outbound team. They're pretty with it.
I'd love to see their ChatGPT prompts.
Okay, let's talk about the future, right? What does the future of Agent Assist look like for both your business? Mark, we can start with
So I think of all the things I'm most excited about is Agent Assist, and that's not because I'm sitting here on I just think that the possibility of superpowering our staff even more is just it's sort of limitless, right? When you think about the traditional Agent Assist, you get a hint, fine, okay, right? But like I'm talking about a call comes in and it automatically tells you what this caller is calling about and their whole history and what the recommendations are right off the bat, right? I'm talking about it's auto-populating things like the member's like, hey, can you email me this? And like the email form is already generated and all the agent has to do is read it and click good, right? I'm talking about after your call, right, and you want to follow up with that member, right? Mm-hmm. Agent Assist helps you do that too, right? Like think about Gmail has this now where if you send an email to somebody and they don't respond, it's like, hey, do you want to follow with that person, right? Same thing with Agent Assist. For example, if like we help make a PCP appointment, right, and it was a challenging, effort to try to make that, and it's on Tuesday, right? Wouldn't it be great if Agent Assist says, hey, do you want me to send a message to the member on Wednesday? Or you want to call them, like checking in on them, right? That's my point of like infusing hospitality into the business, right? Because if you're a member, we're all members of an insurance company, I'd imagine. If your insurance company called you after you changed your doctor, they helped you do something and said, how was it? We as consumers would be like, oh my gosh, my insurance company actually cares about me. And that's like, we're a nonprofit. We actually do care about our members, right? Yeah. And so, not to say other insurance companies don't care about their members. That's our biggest, that's our biggest thing. So that's what I think about the future from an agent assist perspective is.
Great. Fred?
So for me, there's two things. One, so we saw such an improvement in conversion. We have now expanded Cresta to all our sales funnels, right? So that we signed last month, actually, so we're in the process of onboarding. So I'm excited to see what we learned from not only on our inbound team, but also, like, we just made an acquisition for a new brand. Like, we were kind of blind with them. Like, now Cresta can give us a lot of insights to what they do. We have on our real estate support, like, we're going to learn so much. And I think what was said earlier a bunch of times was, I've given my product team, my marketing team, our analytics team, they all have access to Cresta. They can all do the analyst GPT, and so that, because I think the data is so powerful. And if anything, it's I know people can, there's some people like, are you sure you want them messing around with our data? It's like, no, it's powerful, because our members, everybody does these focus groups, and you pay 10 people to give you their opinions, where these people have their wallets out ready to spend money. They're going to tell you what they really feel, and Cresta is able to pull that. And so that's the first thing I'm excited about. The second is this morning on the announcements for the agent assist, like, my agents have to do all this work in 8 different systems. Like the unlocks around, hey, I can now go check the Zillow to confirm the square footage of the house, while this person, like, I already know their address because I got their lead. I can already know that here's what the price is going to be, here's what everything's going to be, as opposed to, hey, will you wait while I pull all your information up? Like, there's so many things that they can do. Like the email, we can send a confirmation email with their, we get all these, everybody might get a request for a contract. It's a pain in the butt to do that. Like, can something like Agent Assist make it easy? And can they make our agents' life easier that'll help with adoption? So all of it leads to conversion, but I still want to make their life easier so they can focus on selling, as opposed to, like, focus on, hey, I have to hit this hint or I have to do that. Because the one thing I'm worried about, I know it's not a question, is like, will our agents treat this like QA, right? Where it's just a checklist, where it's just like, well, I'm supposed to follow this because I'm being measured by it. I want, and where I think we're going and where I want to go is, how can Agent Assist take off a lot of that manual task from them and focus on, like, hey, actually listen to what the member's trying to say.
Yeah.
Like, listen to what they're doing and let them, they're going to take you where they want to go. Just go with them and then sell it to them. Don't, hey, if they go here, you have to put them back on this path. And so that's where what I don't want to happen, but I think we're in a good place to make sure that doesn't.
And I think that translates well into the super agent aspect, right? Because I always think about, the future is an agent sitting behind a computer like they're behind a cockpit. And their sole job is to connect on the deepest level possible to the customer on the phone. And that cockpit, the control center is going to be giving them everything they need in order to fulfill the customer's request and drive a sale. But their job is connection, right?
Yeah.
Now we have last question just around lessons learned or advice for the group. We've got folks that are maybe haven't even started their Cresta journey yet, maybe folks that are well along the way. So maybe any advice you have for both of those groups?
Yeah, so if you're on the fence, whether it's Cresta, I don't want to sound too salesy, right? But whether it's Cresta or another platform, just jump into it, right? As you're talking about, like, this is good for agents to learn AI. Think about your agents, right? If they went to a call center that didn't have AI now, they'd be like, what? This is like, I don't have Microsoft Word, right? You know what I mean, right? So it's like, it's going to be a standard tool, and you're going to fail. Like, you're going to learn, you're going to grow. And the faster you fail, the faster you learn, the better. So just jump in, right? There's no better time than now, because the technology is only going to get better, and there's a million reasons why not to do it, but just jump in. The other thing I would say from an agent assist perspective is, as you're jumping in, whether you're in or not, really looking at your knowledge base and making sure that you can tap into your knowledge base. That's something that we don't have yet, right, in terms of it's not fully integrated. So there's just much more potential and upside. And then constantly looking at your hints, right? So, like, my inbound team is like over 50 hints, and some of those are old, right? They might not be applicable anymore. And I think the last thing that we want is like an old hint to be popping up, right? And so incorporating that into your structure around how you do change management, And the grooming of it is really, really important so that you're not hinting bad information, because that would obviously be not good.
Yeah, I hear a lot of customers talk, by the way, about this, the knowledge base.
Yeah.
Right? We've built the knowledge base in the past. We didn't really have necessarily a North Star for how to design that. And so I think a lot of customers now are going through this knowledge transformation. The good news is that this is not for nothing.
Yeah.
It will have to happen at some point, and then done the right way, it will unlock huge potential for Agent Assist and other tools. Fred, same question around lessons learned?
Yeah, for those of you that aren't doing it yet, so like you said something that really important, North Star, right? So what is the problem you're trying to solve, right? And can Cresta solve that problem? Like for me, it's again, I mentioned it's conversion, right? That is my metric for success. That is how I sell my ROI, because like, again, I think I heard this morning and throughout all of the sessions, like how do you sell this to your executive team? Like we talked about lifetime membership, like lifetime value, like what's the so what? And so be obsessive over that one thing and measure it. And there'll be other benefits, but measure the thing that got Cresta approved, or like the problem you're trying to solve. Like be obsessive about it. And if you could show data that proves it works, then you'll be successful. And the second one is for folks who currently have somebody or currently using Cresta. I would say I'm passionate about vendor management. Vendor management 101 to me is like the partnership with a vendor. It's not a vendor, it's a partner. And like be open and honest. And so we have somebody on my team that owns the Cresta relationship. So their job is to maximize everything we do with Cresta. Like it is an ops role. It is not an IT role. It is an operator who can translate. And so some people talk about IT. They work closely with Danny, who's our person in the back, and Jimmy, who's our success person. And like they talk to them all the time. Her name's Harley. She talks to Danny every day. Like the only way you're going to justify the expense is to maximize everything you get. And you can't have somebody do this like, well, yeah, it'll work. It's just going to work on its own. No, it's not going to work on its own. You have to have somebody that owns the relationship and that's always measuring that one thing that matters, and then you just report out on it. Because at the end of the day, that's how you got it sold off. You have to report that number, and that's what she does. So,
Fred, we have a Cresta product owner too. It's a role that I put in place when we signed up with Cresta. So I totally agree. If you don't have someone in your organization that wakes up, that eats, sleeps, breathes Cresta, and is constantly thinking about how do you generate business value for Cresta, it's a missed opportunity.
yeah,
It's huge.
you're not going to maximize.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much to offer, and like because there's so much work that they have to do. Like it doesn't just happen on its own. You don't just sign with Cresta. It's like, oh, it's working. You know, there's work that has to happen. Like your team has to do work, and so like Cresta will teach you everything you have to do. But you have to, like, your team's going to have to do a lot of the implementation, like building the hints. Like that's what she does. I completely agree, tweaking the hints. Like, hey, this hint is not, like the insights, this hint is not driving conversion. Get rid of it or tweak it. Like we look at that. I look at that every other day, right? And so like you have to have somebody that owns that.
If anything, Fred, we need more than one person.
Correct. Yeah. As we expand, you're right.
Or Amy is overloaded.
Yeah. Correct. Agreed.
Well, guys, thank you so much. You both have obviously done the whole thing with Agent Assist. You've got plenty of lessons learned. You're looking into the future. You've seen a lot of value. I'm sure if folks have questions for you after the session, they can come up and ask. You guys will be around. But really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for being here.